It is July, and you know what that means. It is Art Fight season, baby! Art Fight is a massive month-long competition between two teams where the only goal is to create a ton of art. There are many people who explain it much better than I do, so I'll save my brain cells and leave a link to the Art Fight information page in the description. But for now, let's talk art. And boy howdy am I excited to get into this year's pieces. So in the first week of Art Fight, I try to do my best and dedicate as much time as I can to exclusively doing attacks against the opposite team, because I know that the rest of the season I usually just end up focusing on catching up with revenge pieces regardless of what team they come from. And let me tell you, I already have some gorgeous pieces that I've received in the first week. But first, let's focus on the fantastic character design that belongs to a long-time Art Fight revenger of mine, as well as a massive supporter of the channel, SpaghettiBete, along with their friend Happyflopsie. Meet Barajak Insidious Magnificon, Knight of the Kingdom Vertum, trusted friend of the king, and the holder of one of 4 powerful gemstone artifacts that will save the island he calls home. I adore when there are stories that link together on Art Fight. I get to open 4 different character sheets, each of them with different owners, and I get just the smallest tidbit of a beautiful story, a view into the world from each character's perspective. Barajak's story lines up with 3 other characters, the other gemstone holders, Do, SwuM, and Finnick, who are all available on Art Fight for attacks or friendly fires or what have you. Do, SwuM, and Finnick are all very free-spirited characters, but Barajak in particular stood out to me as he seems to be the most serious of the 4 friends. He takes his job as a knight very seriously, he is very no-nonsense, and he is also very logical. He's also dealing with the very recent loss of his wife during the events of the story, and I think it's really interesting to have that sort of contrast between the main characters of the story. Some of the characters being really spunky, some of them being impulsive, and then some of the characters who just don't know how to function without logic. And this is maybe my own branching off headcanon of the group, but Barajak's sense of duty and seriousness reminds me of some of my own favorite characters who sort of stumble into learning how to be fathers or father figures, like the Mandalorian from the Star Wars franchise, or Geralt from The Witcher, or Kratos from the God of War games. You know, it's the found family plus disgruntled fatherly or even just older brother character. It's just a combination of all of my favorite things, and honestly that's probably a big reason of why I could not wait to drop Barajak whenever I saw him, as I was stalking a bunch of Art Fight pages in the middle of June. Honestly, that wasn't the only thing that stood out to me about Barajak's character. It's a warm palette fantasy bird cowboy, and that appeals to me on so many levels. It also reminded me that I haven't rendered all the cowgirls that I drew in that one video like months ago. Oops. But I am still a sucker for Wild West fantasy settings. While I guess I haven't read too many books or watched too many movies or TV shows in that genre, it is easily one of my favorite settings that people tend to put their Dungeons and Dragons one-shots or mini campaigns into. Put a little fantasy western setting and then slap a little eldritch horror on that bad boy, and ooh, moi, chef's kiss, I am there for it immediately. Usually I like to give a little insight into my thought process and my art process, but I gotta be honest, this one, all vibes, no thoughts, head empty, just making art because I felt like it. For one, it was all vibes because, I was very intentionally putting off any art and creative stuff a few days before Art Fight so that I would be absolutely feral for any sort of creative outlet once July rolled around. And for 2, I had saved Barajak's image into my computer at least 2 weeks in advance, and then when I was going through deciding which characters that I was going to draw for the first week, I just kept coming back to Barajak, and I did genuinely intend to save it for a little later into the Art Fight season, just because I wanted to try to attack some new users in the first week, but I had to. How could I not? I mean, look at him. My favorite part of the drawing was the pose, which is not usually my favorite part of a character design because my anatomy works leaves a little to be desired. So oftentimes my favorite part will be rendering gold shinies or random clothing detail. I seriously just saw Barajak's character design design and immediately knew that I was gonna have big hat, casual lean back, shoulders pose with the wings sort of framing him. And also I was so thrilled to learn that Baracek has bright green eyes, because I think the way that I put the brim of the hat over his face and you can just see the one shining eye peeking out from under the hat. I don't usually get so excited about the way my art turns out, but I cannot help it with this one, and I have to give SpaghettiBete and Happyflopsie all the credit for making Baracek just the coolest cowboy on the block. But with that, we are already done with drawing number 1 of 3 for the first week of Art Fight, which I've aptly named this drawing Yee, and I cannot stress this enough. When I first started Art Fight, I started naming my drawings so seriously, and I think since then my art titles kind of just keep getting worse and or sillier as time goes by, but you know. Thank you so much to SpaghettiBete and Happyflopsie for designing such a good character. As always, I'm putting links to the original artists' Art Fight pages in my description, so of course I highly encourage everyone to check all of those links out. Maybe bookmark some of their characters, consider attacking some of them for yourselves. But we are on to character number 2. This is Cecilia, a sun elf who loves nature. This character belongs to Blue Hugs 555, and I did not realize this, but this is Blue Hugs' first year of Art Fight, and I was even more honored to find out that I was the first attack that they've ever received. But regardless of being a first or anything like that, I was just genuinely thrilled about Cecilia's design, because everybody needs a pretty pink character. We love nature, we love embracing our love of pink. We all need a pretty pink girl in our life. I mean, I have my own pretty pink girl, one whose name also starts with the letter C. I picked Cecilia for a couple of different reasons. Number 1, I just enjoy drawing for artists whose art styles are super different from mine. The original Cecilia is drawn with line art, and my more comfortable style is very painty. Another reason is that Cecilia's color palette is genuinely a fun one to work with. A lot of my character designs involve armor, ceremonial clothing, a lot of darker clothing, and sometimes I just forget to take time and make a character design for the sake of making it. For example, my little mushroom profile picture, it was a design that had no intent behind it. It was just made for the sake of making it, and the sheer joy that little mushroom gremlins bring me. I had no idea that she would become my entire brand and the face for my channel, basically. Calliope, my strawberry cow, is another great example of a character that was just made for the sake of wanting to enjoy the character design process. Of course, I do very much enjoy my strong ladies because, well, you know that, but I think often, whether or not we intend it to, the designs that just come from the sake of having fun really have a tendency to find their way to the spotlight, and I think Cecilia is very much that sort of character. Cecilia has a couple of characteristics that I really wanted to make sure that I kept when drawing her in my own style, but I did clearly take a good number of liberties, especially when it came to her clothing. I added draped fabric and big sleeves because, I mean, what could possibly be more on brand for Lady Split Chin than a big sleeve and some draped fabric? But more importantly, I wanted her to still have the corset with floral embroidery. I wanted her to still have a ton of little bows. I wanted to keep some of the gathered fabric, and I also wanted to feature Cecilia's favorite colors, pink and yellow, all throughout the design. But for all that, hands down, one of my favorite and one of the most important details of the entire drawing, at least in my opinion, is that Cecilia has a lot of freckles, and not just freckles on her nose and cheeks, but on her shoulders, on her forehead, on the back of her hands, and it makes so much sense for her character design, especially as a sun elf, as someone who loves spending time in nature. It just makes sense that she would have all kinds of freckles all over her skin. She also has beautiful sparkling eyes in the original design and this sort of downward swooped shape in her lids, so I wanted to make sure to maintain that look. I also gave her a lot of blush, not just in like a cheekbone glamorous way, but the all over fully rosy cheeks. I want to give her that sense that she's just come in from a warm day of tending her garden, which would be so horribly impractical in the clothes that I put her in, but shush, we're doing character design for the sake of character design. Practicality out the window and all that. And the whole thing of practicality being out the window is arguably one of the best parts of Art Fight. While I definitely really try to draw the characters aligned with the lore and the brief character descriptions that people put in their character pages, whenever I draw for ARTFIGHT, I get to search for characters that just appeal to my whimsy. I don't have to think about the grand scheme of some campaign book lore that I happen to be writing. I don't have to rewind time and try to remember the headspace I was in like 13 to 15 years ago whenever I was drawing childhood characters. Of course, I truly enjoy doing that as well, or else I would not have centered my entire channel around making a campaign book or redrawing childhood art. But there is something so nice about just drawing. Put in your own little flourishes on top of someone else's love and hard work, and in the end everyone gets cool art. And on that very feels good note, I do bring you Blue Hugs 555's Cecilia the Sun Elf. She is such a cutie. What a fun character design. Thank you so much to Blue Hugs for creating just a beautiful character. But before I move on to the next one, I do want to honorable mention their other character on their page, Ezreen. I bookmarked Cecilia and saved her offline before Ezreen was uploaded, so I didn't know that Ezreen existed until I had already started uploading Cecilia. And I am not saying at all that I regret drawing Cecilia. What I am saying is that it is a shame that Ezreen has no art made of her yet, as of me recording this audio. Cough cough, link in the description. Alright, it's on to our last character, and certainly not least. And once again, for an ARTFIGHT user, in just a sort of sentimental, meaningful way to me. My very first ARTFIGHT year was 2022 on Team Wither, which on the note of Team Wither, real quick, I have never picked a winning ARTFIGHT team. Granted, this is only my third year doing this, but I do, just in case, want to apologize if any of you are on Team Stardust alongside me, because if my loss streak is going to keep up, I have some bad news for you. But back in the Bloom versus Wither days, I did my very first ARTFIGHT attack on a user by the name of Bunmir. I drew a mermaid named Eco and her crab friend Bubbles, and Bunmir actually came back to so kindly say that even after 2 years they still love the peas. And I thought, you know what, I need to go back and make some more art with my new skills for this genuinely kind human being. I do have to admit that it was kind of because I saw Bunmir's comment, and so I went to look at Bunmir's page just to see what she was up to, and Bunmir had just uploaded a bunch of very gothic dark angel satyr looking characters this year, and I you know, I'm not gonna lie, it was just my desire to draw vampires and edgelords. It took over. The character that I chose to draw is called the Overlord, but Bunmir also so lovingly provided a list of little nicknames that the Overlord is called, and I cannot express to you how partial I am to the name Little Ovi. It is very much giving the vibes of someone who wants to be evil, who wants to be taken very seriously, but everyone kind of finds the character endearing to the point of like comedy. So that was very much the energy that informed my entire drawing of this guy. I did want to stay pretty close to the original design just because I really like it. I like the colors a lot, but I did opt to give him pants. In general, I think satyrs are fine without pants. I don't think they need it, especially in Bunmir's style. I think Overlord looks super cute. However, my style, it just wasn't working, so I gave him some pants. Plus it was a great excuse to render as little fur as possible. A good number of the characters on Bunmir's page are connected to the Overlord storyline, and I could be totally mistaken, but I believe, after looking through the various characters, that Little Ovi and a few of the connecting characters are part of an alternate universe story that is a mix of their own characters and characters from the Lego Ninjago TV show. I didn't have cable growing up, so I sort of missed the window for the Ninjago TV show being a significant part of my childhood, but my parents did very briefly let me have the Lego magazine subscription, and as a result I did request a couple of the earlier Lego Ninjago sets, but I'm sorry, I'm very disconnected from any of that lore, and for that I apologize if I've misinterpreted anything, because clearly there's a lot of love in Bunmir and her girlfriend's heart for the entire franchise and so many of the characters, and the designs are just so nice. So I really hope, despite me lacking information, I did this one justice. As you just saw, I filled the background with a gradient and used an overlay layer to create a repeating peaches design for the background because I totally fixated on literally one bullet point in Bunmir's character description that said he loves peaches, and so I made it the entire point of this drawing. In fact, I was so focused on little Ovi liking peaches that I totally forgot to render in the lava lamp part of his staff entirely. So there's a bottom purple like 3/4 section of the spear scepter thing that he's holding. It's actually a lava lamp with bubbles in it, and I knew that. I was aware of that, but I don't know, my brain couldn't stop thinking about how peaches were undeniably the most important part of the drawing, and nothing else mattered. But even though I missed that, I did get to do my favorite part, the shiny dangly gold jewelry from his antlers and ears, as well as all the little lightning details that are all over his body. I love a good gold shiny because I am just a crow that someone has given too many rights and too much free will to. But on those very fast notes, we have quickly come to the end of the last drawing that I have for this week. Behold, little Ovi! And of course, just to remind you all that all the artists' art fight links are in the description, Bunmir's included, and I also did want to take the time to mention that Bunmir has her own YouTube channel, so if you would like to support another YouTuber, if you would like to check more of her work out, please do check the links below. And with that, we can take a look at our final trio for the week. What a wild collection of characters to start this July off with, and I do think it's important to let you all know that all three of the artists are Team Seafoam, so you know, if you're Team Stardust looking to counterbalance my bad juju when it comes to art fight teams, here are three excellent options for you. But in this beautiful season of art fight, we're not just looking at the things that I drew, but also the things that you drew, and I received already 4 wonderful pieces of art from 4 wonderful artists. The first piece is Calliope. Of course, I'm not even sure why I thought about taking her down this year. She has always been a favorite when it comes to art fight, and I'm always so happy to receive art of her. This piece was done by Lalaliet, and I am obsessed. Currently, my phone background is a picture from my wedding day, and I was very strongly considering changing it to this gorgeous Calliope piece because Calliope is just the most important event of my entire life, clearly. No, but I love the colors, the composition, ruffles, everything. Thank you so much, Lalaliet. The second piece is Xyola Geither drawn by FarewellFox, who is a supporter of my channel, which truly that was enough. But FarewellFox went above and beyond and churned out this incredibly dynamic piece. I was so worried about uploading Xyola because she's brightly colored, she's got all these little ridges in her character design, but FarewellFox blew my expectations out of the water. Also, FarewellFox, I don't know if you meant it or not, but I love it. I love it when characters have teeth, and there's so much teeth, so I am choosing to believe that it's a gift for me, so thank you so much. The third piece of art I received was this absolutely adorable profile shot of Fing. Look how clean that line art is. Look at the colors and the little teeths. This drawing was made by RiverRain, and I need you all to know RiverRain is absolutely insane. His goal is to draw 1,000 attacks, and just this month, and let me tell you, he's well on his way to achieving that goal. So thank you again, RiverRain, for the art, and for being the very first person to draw Fing in Art Fight. And last, but most certainly not least, is Bunmir. Bunmir managed to get a revenge in before the end of the week. Bunmir drew Cleo, who is added as a 10th surprise character on my Art Fight page as a result of popular request, and also me just liking a nice round whole number of characters. Bunmir captured Cleo so well. I put it as like an offhand comment because Cleo had a cat in my original childhood drawing, so I said, oh, Cleo loves cats. And look at him, look at this, look at it, look at the little meow, its little face is so stinking cute. I'm gonna scream, I'm gonna cry. Oh, but with that, we have come to the end of week 1 of Art Fight. 3.5 more weeks to go. None of you are safe. I'm coming for you all, or at least as many of you as my wrist can handle. Hopefully I do get to more of my bookmark characters this year than last year, but who knows? Not me.